Hey everybody, it's JWittz here with your Pokemon trading card game fact of the day. Now I know today's is actually our second fact of the day this week because I answered some requests to have two, and they're a lot of fun. Now I know I'm starting to get low on actual hard facts and trivia, and I do have a stash of things to talk about in the future, but I figured for now I would just conclude this series of talking about strange cards in general. First we had the banned cards, then we had the censored cards, then we had misprint cards, and lastly, this is just a group of miscellaneous cards that I'm just going to call weird cards. Now, I know, obviously, talking about weird cards, there's no way that I can cover every single weird card that's ever been released, so I just limited it once again to 10 that were significant to me, or ones that I remember particularly, but as always, feel free to comment in the comment section below about some of your favorite weird cards. Just like the misprint cards, I just can't cover them all, but hopefully you guys find this small chunk of them to be a little bit interesting. They're in no particular order. I just wrote them completely randomly across this notebook. So let's start at the bottom and work our way up to what I think is one of the weirdest cards. So coming in, I guess at number 10, these aren't really ordered by weirdness. I just left my favorite at number 1, but we've got the Delta Dittos. Now, I know for you guys who've seen the Pokemon anime, there's a Ditto character in the first season, I want to say, and he changed it into other Pokemon, but struggles to copy their face, so he still looks ridiculous. I guess eventually he does overcome this problem, and he starts looking like normal Pokemon again, but I guess that trend of having a regular Pokemon with a Ditto face was pretty funny, and it carried over many years later in some of the Delta species sets. Now, there's a lot of Pokemon that are Dittos, that have Ditto faces, and a lot of them look really funny. I think my personal favorite, though, is probably the Ditto Geodude. I think Geodude's probably just one of the most serious-looking Pokemon out of the group. The rest, I think there's a Squirtle, Charmander, Pikachu, Mr. Mime, things like that. But having a Geodude with a Ditto face just looks the funniest to me. And I guess also sort of interesting to note that it's got linear attack, which the really popular Yamega Prime has now. It's not the same attack, but just interesting also how some Pokemon attack names can be carried over year after year. My next one is Drowsy from Great Encounters. Now, most of you guys might not find this weird, but I don't know, something about it is just unsettling to me. You probably won't even notice it, but if you look in the background, there's just an actual candle that they used as the background. Now, it's blurred out of focus so that Drowsy's the main thing that you see, but everything else is black. It's just straight up a candle. It was probably an actual photograph. It doesn't look like an illustration, and the rest is just black. And I don't know why, but every time I look at this card, I just think that it's really weird. We've got a Pokemon and what's probably a real-life object, and I'm sure that there are a few other cards that use things from the real world on the cards, but this is just one that stands out to me. Maybe it's just because the background's black and the Drowsy looks so out of place, but just another weird card that I can't really categorize. Number 8 is Ammonite from Legend Maker. Now, this is just a funny card, and if you look at Ammonite, he's literally the personification of the meme today, Forever Alone. He's taking up the main spot. You see him crying, and there's some Ammonites behind him having a good time. Pretty depressing card, but also just pretty hilarious. Number 7, I've got Cherubi, and I'm pretty sure both the Diamond and Pearl and the Stormfront Cherubis have this description, but I just always thought this was weird. Now, I know this isn't particular to the card itself, but this is how I learned it, is through reading the little description at the bottom. Now, Cherubi's description talks about how the ball next to him is necessary for evolution, and that it is sweet and tasty. Now, it might not seem like a really big deal for them to even say that, but just look at Cherim after it evolves. It doesn't have 2 pieces anymore, it's just 1. So literally, I guess it's assumed that Cherubi self-cannibalizes, eats the little bud next to it to get the sweet and tasty necessary components for evolution to evolve. Really, really disturbing. Number 6 in general is just Cadabra cards, because it comes with an interesting story. Cadabra is, I don't know if you can call it a banned card, but I guess it's been forbidden from print. The story goes like this. There's a famous, and he's sort of a magician, pseudo-psychic, claims to be psychic. I think at one point he said he was psychic, now he says he's a performer. Definitely an odd and eccentric dude. His name is Uri Geller. And he kind of popularized a lot of different things as far as popular psychic culture. He was a big deal. He did the spoon bending thing. I'm pretty sure that I don't know if he popularized it, but I know he was a big component in the magic words Abra, Cadabra, Alakazam, and down the line, while Pokemon is technically paying respect to him by having Pokemon that are in his image, he got a little offended down the line for some strange reasons. Now, here's how it works. In America, our cards are called Abra, Cadabra, Alakazam, I guess, just to honor those regular magic words. They've got the spoon bending because that's kind of been seen as an iconic symbol for having psychic powers. But in Japan, and I don't know exactly how they are worded, but basically Cadabra's name is just straight up Uri Geller. It's pretty much his name. So somewhere down the line, this came back to him. He found out that there's a Pokemon that has his name. And I think particularly he was upset with the card Dark Cadabra because, in his words, he thought it made him look like a cultist, which is a little extreme in my opinion. I guess he filed a lawsuit, and while the settlement of the lawsuit is not disclosed, we haven't gotten a released Cadabra card since Skyridge all the way back in the early 2000s. So it's just interesting to note we don't have Cadabra anymore because of a real-life person that the Pokemon was named after. 5 is Tag Team. Now, this card is both interesting in its strange artwork and the story behind it because we don't really have something like this. Now, the way Tag Team worked is it was part of a special tournament in Japan for parent and son/daughter competitions, and I don't know if you had to play the card when it was in your hand, or you could play it, or you had to play it in your deck, but basically the way the card works is when you play it, a father and or son has to switch with their father and or son in the middle of the game. So basically you tag teamed your games. You played with a kid and an adult, and whenever that card was played, you swapped out with the other person and continued the game from there. Just kind of interesting, but the artwork itself is bizarre. It doesn't resemble anything like official Pokemon artwork. You've got the creepy dad with the weird-shaped head and the mustache. The kid looks strange. It's definitely strange art, but it's, I guess, been embedded in my head because ever since I was a kid and I saw that card, I was like, what is going on with this one? Next up is Slugma from Deoxys. Now, this card is, I mean, to put it most appropriately, it's just on drugs. Slugma is taking up almost the entire card. It's like the primes before the primes existed, but to the extreme. He's got a super close-up. In the back, there's all these weird psychedelic colors. His pupils look extremely strange. There's varying lines between both of his eyes so that they don't match up perfectly. I don't know, this card just... And it didn't offend me in a bad way, but it offends my eyes just to look at it. It really stands out, and it's just another one of those weird cards. Next up is Misty's Duel. Now, this card's just funny in the way that the text works, but basically, it's, I want to say the first or one of the very first cards to require you to play rock, paper, scissors in order to finish the card effect. But then, I just think it's humorous that they add beyond that. If your opponent doesn't know how to play rock, paper, scissors, then just flip a coin. I just think it's funny. Like, why even have a card that includes rock, paper, scissors if you're worried that people don't know how to play rock, paper, scissors? Interestingly enough, about 10 years later, we got Team Galactic's Wager, which was another card, required you to play rock, paper, scissors, but this time they decided to not give you the option to opt out. So, I guess 10 years later, they assume everyone knows how to play rock, paper, scissors, but back in the day, maybe everyone didn't. I don't know. I just thought it was strange, and it's funny that they include it that way. Number 2, I've got Crystal Diglett, let's try that again. It's Diglett from Crystal Guardians, and this card is just another one with really funny art. Diglett is normally known for these black, beady little eyes with his strange pink mouth, but this time he's got huge eyes. He's about to be washed away in a wave because he's somehow poking out sideways over the coast through one of his digging holes. I don't know. It's just the eyes that are ridiculous. Looks like something out of a cartoon. Definitely doesn't look like the Diglett that we've come to know, and it's just really funny. And number 1 for the weird Pokemon cards that I've got is Whisenbell from Jungle. Now, at first glance, you probably see this card and have no idea what's wrong with it. It looks pretty normal, but look a little bit closer, and you'll notice something blue next to Whisenbell. What's that? It's a bird. Not a Pokemon, just a straight up bird chilling next to Whisenbell. What's up with that? Does this mean that there are real animals in the Pokemon world, or that there's really Pokemon in the real world? I mean, obviously I'm not suggesting that Pokemon are real, but it's just hilarious. I don't know if this is just a mistake. They just got some artists who were used to just drawing nature scenery, and they were like, oh, well, I'll throw in a bird here. But it is pretty funny. I mean, it's a tiny bird. Nothing like this has really ever been released as an actual Pokemon, but somehow, some way down the line, we've got real Pokemon and real animals mixed together. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my nice little selection of weird cards. Now, in the future, I will move on to like more hard facts and trivia, but just thought I'd share my experience down the line with some of the most interesting cards that have been released over the years. As I said earlier, if you got an interesting card that you'd like to talk about or let the viewers know about, just post it in the comment section below and we'll all check it out. Thanks for watching today's Fact of the Day, and tune in next week for another one. Peace!
You want the best tricks? I suggest you profit. You want a mess spread? I suggest you drop it.
Once we started rolling, you know you can't stop it. Let's go and get some lessons from JWittz and Profit. Yeah!